My name is Sarah Lynn Vo, 34 years old. I ruined Christmas for my daughter. That's the sentence that keeps circling, not because it's the truth, but because it's the version my guilt uses to keep me awake. I brought Lily into that house even though every winter of my life had warned me what waited there. A tree too perfect, a smile too rehearsed, a room that felt like a stage where love only played on cue. My mother's foyer smelled like cinnamon and furniture polish. My sister was already filming, her twins shrieking in front of a mountain of gifts like contestants on a game show. My father had that gleam in his eye that means the liquor was poured long before coffee. No one said hello to Lily, not even Merry Christmas. She sat beside me on the edge of the couch, clutching a small wrapped frame, the photo she'd printed of her and my dad fishing last summer, the one where he looks like he remembers how to smile. She'd asked to bring it. "So Grandpa won't forget the fun day," she'd said. I told her we were going to Nana and Grandpa's. She picked her dress 2 days early and slept with her tights draped over the bed like good luck. My brother came in late, shot me a look that read, "You already regret this, don't you?" I smiled the way people do when their mouth doesn't belong to them. Then came the gifts. The cousins unwrapped iPads, bikes, limited edition sneakers, personalized art kits. Jewelry my sister pretended not to notice was too expensive for a child. Even the dog had a stocking swollen with treats. Lily watched like a small scientist, polite, patient, hopeful. The room glittered. My stomach didn't. Finally, my mother reached under the tree and pulled out a crumpled package that looked as if it had been stepped on. "Oh, this must be—" "Here," she said, confused, already bored. She handed it to Lily without calling her name. Inside was a cheap plastic horse, one leg broken clean off. Permanent marker scars scribbled along its side like someone had been testing a pen. It looked like the kind of toy that lives at the bottom of a bin at a garage sale, waiting to be thrown away and never quite blessed with the mercy. Lily didn't say anything. She turned it over in her small hands like she was hunting for a secret hinge that would make sense of it. My father chuckled, loud enough to be heard over the twins. "She's not the favorite," he announced. "The real gifts are for your cousins." The room laughed. Even the kids. My sister smirked at me over her phone. My mother didn't blink. She was already reaching for the next box. Lily's eyes filled like someone had turned on a faucet she couldn't find the handle to close. She pressed her face into her palms and made that small sound children make when they're trying not to make any sound at all. I didn't move for 3 seconds. Not because I didn't care, because something inside me that had been sleeping for years woke up and stood. Rage, yes. Shame, too. But more than that, clarity, sharp as December air. My brother pushed to his feet. "This is disgusting," he said. "You're humiliating a child." My father told him to sit down and stop being dramatic. My sister rolled her eyes and filmed the dog opening a squeaky toy as if it were a mercy. I took Lily to the hallway, sat on the runner where the light from the window made a gold band across the floor. She kept asking if maybe the wrong gift got mixed up. Maybe hers was in the other room. Maybe Nana forgot where she hid it. "No, honey," I said, pulling her into me. "That's it." She cried harder, face pressed into my shoulder, small shoulders shaking in that way that breaks a parent more efficiently than any argument. That's where the decision happened. Not in the shouting, not in the room's sick laughter. On the hallway rug, with my daughter's breath catching against my collarbone, I found the part of me that had been taking notes all these years every time they handed me family like a bill. The part that knew love does not demand receipts. The part that had been building something quietly while they thought I was just their safety net. When the laughter inside died down, I stood. "Come with me," I told Lily. She nodded, still clutching the broken horse and the wrapped photo. I wiped her face and kissed her forehead. "You and Uncle are going upstairs for hot chocolate," I said, pressing the thermos into my brother's hands when he met us at the bottom of the stairs. He looked at me and, without asking a single question, said, "You're not wrong. You're just late." I walked back into the living room and picked up the 2 tasteful, expensive gifts I'd brought for my parents, the ones I'd chosen with the same care I wish they'd ever offered us. I placed them gently into my bag. My father noticed first. "What are you doing?" he asked, smile already souring. My mother turned with her therapist's face on, the one that says, "Let's label your feelings so we don't have to respect them." I looked at the room. Even the twins had gone quiet, sensing that something important had finally arrived, even if they didn't have the words for it. "I hope you enjoyed your little show," I said, "because I have a Christmas gift of my own." You could feel the room lean. "I won't be working for you anymore." At first, my father laughed, the way men laugh when they think noise can glue a moment back together. My mother softened her mouth into pity. My sister made a face like I'd spilled wine on a rental dress. "Sarah, be reasonable," my mother said. "You're overwrought. It's the holidays." "I'm lucid," I said, "and I'm finished. I've been planning for a year, learning, saving, meeting people who don't think ethics is a punchline. The investor I've been meeting with signed last week. I'm launching a firm. Not in some side lane you can kindly permit me to occupy. Right in your lane. Better model. Cleaner structure. No backroom deals. No nepotism. And certainly no abuse dressed up as tough love." My father stopped laughing. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said, voice dropping into that register he thinks makes grown women into obedient daughters. "You don't have what it takes." I smiled, small and honest. "You only ever liked what I had when it took your weight instead of mine." My mother's face went pale in a single sweep, like someone had erased her blush with a cloth. "Why would you do this to us?" she whispered. "What kind of daughter?" "The kind you taught to work until she disappeared," I said. "And the kind whose daughter you humiliated with a broken $5 toy." My sister finally snapped, wine sloshing in her glass. "Jealousy, plain and simple," she said. "My kids are more successful and you can't stand it." "They're 8, I said. "They get iPads for existing. Lily brought a handmade photo frame and got a lesson in hierarchy." I looked at the twins and softened my voice. "This isn't your fault," I told them. "This is the system you were born into." My brother's footsteps creaked above us. Lily's laugh followed, small and tremulous, like a bird figuring out if it can still fly. "You're ungrateful," my father barked. "You're turning your back on everything we built for you." "I built it," I said. "Every emergency you threw at me like a test. Every late night I fixed what you broke and told me to call it loyalty. You liked me when I was quiet and useful. The second I asked for a raise or time off or basic humanity, I became an inconvenience." They tried to make it a therapy session. They tried to make it about my tone. My mother cried the kind of tears that always came with strings attached. "Worst Christmas ever," she said, waiting for me to apologize for tugging the string. "Not for me," I said. "It's the first one that makes sense." I slid the straps of my bag over my shoulder and let the silence sit. Real silence, not the kind my family uses to punish, but the kind that allows you to hear your own name without flinching. "I'll see myself out," I said. "Don't call tonight. Don't call tomorrow. You can contact my lawyer after the new year." "Lawyer?" my father repeated, as if syllables could be a shield. I nodded. "It's amazing what you can do when you stop asking permission to exist." I turned toward the hallway, and before I reached it, my sister spat one last thing. "You'll regret this, like a curse." I didn't turn around. Regret is for people who don't have a child with a broken plastic horse in their hands, and a mother who can finally recognize the shape of a map out. On the stairs, I paused. The house hummed with the quiet of expensive things. Somewhere in it, Lily was holding a mug warm enough to thaw a small ache. Upstairs, we would pack our coats. In the car, she would fall asleep before we reached the corner. At home, I would carry her to bed and sit there and hate myself for bringing her here. Then I would open my laptop and write the email that ends a decade. It would not be dramatic. It would be a receipt. Behind me, my father called my name the way people call a dog that won't come back. My mother said, "Please," the way some people pray when they don't believe. I kept walking. By the door, I caught my reflection in the glass. A woman I recognized and, for the first time in years, trusted. Outside, the wind lifted the edge of the wreath like a shrug. I wasn't burning down my family. I was walking away from a fire. By the time Lily's breathing slowed into the soft, uneven rhythm of sleep, I was at the kitchen table with my laptop open and the cursor blinking like a metronome for courage. The resignation email wasn't a speech. I'd given those to myself for years. It was lines and facts and dates, final in the way a door sounds when it latches. Effective immediately, I will no longer be available for operations, client relations, after-hours emergencies, or key holder responsibilities. Company property can be retrieved by appointment. Please route all communication through counsel. I signed my name and felt the house exhale. Then I sat there in the hush that follows a storm and waited for lightning to remember me. It didn't. Not that night. Morning brought quiet that felt like a trick. No reply, no rage, just the hum of the refrigerator and the way sunlight found the spot on the floor where Lily always sprawls with crayons. I made coffee, packed her lunch, and slipped the broken plastic horse into a drawer I never use, the way people hide sharp things from themselves until they're sure their hands won't reach for them in the dark. When Lily woke, she was puffy-eyed but practical. "Can we make pancakes tomorrow?" she asked, which I understood as a treaty. "Yes," I said. "Blueberry, extra." On the way to school, she asked if Nana would like the picture with Grandpa, the one she brought yesterday. I told her the truth without making it heavy. "We'll hold on to it for now." She accepted that with a small nod, the kind children make when they've decided to postpone a heartbreak. In the rearview mirror, I watched her watch the world and promised the part of me that had always bargained with my parents that I was done offering Lily up as collateral. By 9, I was in a co-working space that smelled like fresh paint and ambition. The receptionist handed me a badge with my name spelled right and asked if I wanted a plant. "We have a snake plant with your vibe," she said, which is a sentence no one has ever offered me at my parents' office. I took it as an omen. I set up at a window, opened a fresh doc, typed the name, Lumen in line, and sat with it. My investor had liked it because it sounded like architecture and honesty in the same breath. "I'm not backing a rebellion," she'd said in our first meeting, eyes bright, bracelets soft clacking as she gestured. "I'm backing a standard." The first hour disappeared into paperwork, wire confirmations, vendor applications. The second disappeared into calls. "We saw your announcement," said a voice I recognized from a client whose calendar I'd stabilized for 3 years while my parents took the photo ops. "Please tell me you're taking on new accounts." I told them yes, with boundaries. "We were hoping you'd say that," they replied, relief threaded through their words like gold. I wrote their name down, underlined it once, and told my hands not to shake. At noon, my phone lit up with the first attempted rewrite. "My mother. Just checking that you didn't send that email in a moment of emotion. We all say things we don't mean at the holidays." I stared at the screen until my coffee went cold. Then I did the most disrespectful thing in our family. Nothing. Silence, I have learned, is a scalpel, if you're willing to let it cut away the rot. At 1, I met with our designer, a woman with incisive eyes, and a patience that made me want to talk less and deliver more. We picked a palette that didn't apologize for itself, and a logo that looked like truth standing upright. We chose promises I could keep: transparent billing, humane timelines, no urgent unless something was actually on fire. She asked who my first hires would be. I already had a list. People my parents called too sensitive when they meant ethical. People who had left because integrity is a long game and they were tired of sprinting in circles. I sent 3 messages: coffee, catch up, and all 3 replied within minutes, like birds that had been watching the sky for weather. By 2:30, my father finally arrived, digitally. "You're overreacting. You'll regret this. You're not thinking straight." A holy trinity of dismissal, delivered without punctuation, as if grammar were a favor I no longer deserved. I forwarded it to my lawyer with the subject line documentation and went back to the spreadsheet that would determine whether my future could pay my rent. My investor texted at 3. "How did last night go?" I sent back a photo of the empty co-working table with the plant in the corner and the words, "I picked a window." She replied with a checkmark and a calendar invite for a weekly standing. "We scale slow," she'd told me, "and we scale right. I'd rather be accused of caution than collapse." By 4, my first team member was in. Priya, project manager extraordinaire, who had once taken a fall for my mother in a meeting because my mother couldn't pronounce the word accountability without choking. "I want to build something I don't have to recover from every Friday," Priya said over tea, and I hired her before the kettle clicked off. We set up a Trello board that looked like a promise: intake, process, deliverable, follow-up. The dull things that keep shiny things from cutting you. By 5, 2 clients had signed letters of engagement. By 7, Lily and I were on the floor eating noodles from cartons, the plant on the coffee table like a small, green witness. She told me her favorite part of the day was when math made sense. I told her mine was when people did too. We fell asleep to a movie about a girl and a dragon who refused to be led by fear. At midnight, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing itself into a tantrum, my sister's social feed unfurling like a banner, photos of her twins with captions about real family, quotes about loyalty, a sentence so vague it had to be for me. Some people only show up when there are cameras. I turned my phone face down. Let people audition for parts you'll never cast again. The next day, the silence from my parents' office reached the quality of strategy. Their longest-standing client posted a farewell on LinkedIn that didn't tag them, which is its own kind of indictment. 20 minutes later, my inbox pinged. Subject line, quiet question. The body. Are you available to talk transition? No pressure. Soon. I stared out the window at a sky that couldn't decide if it wanted to rain and whispered an apology to whatever part of me still wanted my parents to earn their legacy. The apology didn't need to be heard to count. The week exhaled into the next. We found a sublease with windows that faced east. We bought a kettle and the good kind of tea that doesn't taste like punishment. We installed a door chime that sounded like a bell in a chapel instead of a retail store. On Tuesday, our second hire, Diego, Design, carried in a box of old sketchbooks and said, "I'd like to make things we don't have to defend." He pinned our values to the kitchenette corkboard like a map we'd refuse to fold. The first time money hit the business account, I cried in the bathroom, not because of greed, but because of relief. Proof that my hands could make something besides messes other people didn't want to clean up. The second time, I didn't cry. I called our accountant. I called our insurance broker. I called our lawyer and said the 3 words that taste like survival: keep me honest. On Thursday, my brother stopped by with hot chocolate and a look like oxygen. "How's the engine?" he asked, peeking at our whiteboard. "Purring," I said. He laughed and took a photo of the snake plant. "Dad will say you bought that to look successful," he said. "Dad will say a lot of things," I answered. We didn't talk about December. We didn't say the word Christmas. We talked about calendars and carpool and how much cheaper peace is than therapy when you buy it early. Friday afternoon, the wobble turned into a wave. A supplier I'd known since my 20s called to confirm a shipping address. "Which one?" I asked, though I already knew. "Yours," she said. "You're easier to reach." She lowered her voice and added, "And you actually call back. Gratitude is not currency, but it spends something inside you anyway." I thanked her, sent a follow-up email recapping terms, and logged the order like a small miracle that had remembered our address. At 5, my mother tried again. A photo of a horse figurine. Porcelain. Perfect. Expensive. Captioned, "We didn't mean anything by it. It was a joke. Don't weaponize a misunderstanding." I stared at it until the image lost shape. Then I typed and deleted a dozen versions of the sentence I wanted to send. You weaponized hierarchy and called it a holiday. I chose nothing again. It's addictive, the way quiet protects you. That night, Lily and I set up the music box we'd admired at the mall, the pink one with the twirling ballerina and the tune that sounds like forgiveness. I told her we could save for it, and then I bought it anyway and wrote a note that said, "For being brave," with no signature at all. She opened the lid and gasped like the first time you see snow. "Do you think Nana would like this song?" she asked softly. "Maybe," I said, "but we don't have to play it for her." Before bed, I looked at the week on the wall. 5 inquiries, 3 signed, 2 pending, 1 landlord who didn't care about my last name, 1 plan alive, 1 child humming again while drawing a house that looked like ours. It wasn't triumph, it was arithmetic. And underneath all of it, like a bass note only I could hear, something else. The rumor that their largest client had paused a renewal. Not a no, not yet, but silence where there used to be swagger. I didn't reach out. I didn't hover. I went to sleep with the window cracked, so the cold could argue with the heat and remind me there's more than one way to be held. In the morning, there was a card in the mailbox. Heavy paper, gold trim, my mother's handwriting smiling too hard. Just the immediate family. February 10th. Casual dinner. Reconnect. No apology. No mention of a child who cried into her hands while her elders laughed. I put it beside the kettle and made tea. I stared at it long enough for the steam to fade. Then I slid it under the plant and let it hold the table steady without asking me for anything. Please RSVP, the card said. I didn't. The world will bring you its invitations. You do not owe it your attendance. I sharpened a pencil, opened my calendar, and made a different appointment, a meeting with the investor who had once said, standard scale. When I hit save, the door chime rang, and Priya walked in with the morning's mail and a grin that told me good news before the envelope did. The quiet was ending. The edge was shifting. I could feel the next move set itself like a bone. The invitation sat on my counter for 6 days, wedged between Lily's colored pencils and a grocery list that included milk, paper towels, and courage. It wasn't the paper that unnerved me. It was the handwriting. My mother's cursive had always looked rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in front of a mirror until every loop said, control. Just the immediate family, the note read. Casual dinner, reconnect. No apology, no acknowledgement of Christmas. Just an illusion of normalcy written in gold ink on white cardstock. I almost threw it out, but something about its timing, 2 weeks after whispers of their biggest client's departure, felt strategic. They didn't want to reconnect. They wanted to recover. And I was the missing PR piece in their story. When my brother called 2 nights later, I knew my suspicion wasn't paranoia. He'd received the same invitation. I'm not going, he said flatly. But you should know, they're scared. Scared of what? He hesitated. Their oldest client ended their contract. No announcement, just gone. I glanced toward the window where the city lights reflected back like tiny truths. That same client called me last Friday, I said quietly. A pause. Then maybe you should go, he said. Not to make peace, just to watch them sweat. So I did. It was February 10th. Windy, cold, the kind of night that makes old houses creak like they're remembering arguments. I left Lily with my brother, tucked under a blanket and halfway through a movie marathon. I told her I had a meeting, which wasn't entirely a lie, because what is a family dinner if not a meeting about what everyone owes each other? When I pulled into my parents' driveway, their house looked like it had dressed up for company. Every window glowed. Every car was polished. My mother answered the door herself, wearing a blazer and pearls, her version of humility. She smiled too brightly. Sarah, you came. Her perfume hit first, jasmine and calculation. My father was already seated at the dining table, swirling a drink, pretending to be relaxed. My sister sat across from him, glass of wine untouched, phone screen lighting her face like an interrogation lamp. None of them asked about Lily. The dining room was set like a magazine spread, linen napkins folded like origami, candles burning low. It didn't feel like home, it felt like an interview. For 30 minutes, they played their parts. Small talk, weather, market updates. My mother bragged about some charity gala. My father complained about the younger generation's lack of discipline. My sister scrolled through photos of her kids, loud enough for everyone to see the caption, "Family is everything." I said almost nothing. I let the performance hang in the air, thin and brittle. Then the tone shifted. My father set his glass down, cleared his throat, and spoke in the kind of voice people use before signing a contract. We've been thinking, he began, glancing at my mother for approval. We want to fix things, truly. We see now how valuable you are to the company. You were always essential. Essential. The same word he'd used when asking me to work weekends for free. He continued, we'd like to offer you a partnership. Equal stake, full title, you'd share control, start fresh. My mother leaned in. We miss you, honey. We miss Lily. Family doesn't always get things right, but we're trying. Even my sister chimed in, voice dripping with false warmth. It's time to move forward, don't you think? I stared at them, these people who had once made me feel like furniture with feelings, and almost laughed. This wasn't reconciliation, it was recruitment. They wanted me back because they were sinking. So I smiled. It wasn't kindness, it was precision. I appreciate the offer, I said softly, but you didn't invite me here to fix family. You invited me to fix your finances. My father stiffened. That's unfair. Is it? I asked. Your biggest client left. Your project manager resigned last week to join my firm. You're bleeding credibility, and you think I'm your life raft. My mother blinked, the way she does when she's searching for a new tactic. We're trying to heal, Sarah. Why twist everything into hostility? Because you've mistaken an apology for a business pitch, I said. My sister snorted. You're delusional. That was when I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope identical to the one they'd sent me. White cardstock, gold trim. I slid it across the table toward my father. He hesitated, then opened it. His eyes flicked across the first line, then widened. It wasn't an RSVP, it was a buyout offer. A buyout? My mother whispered. Yes, I said calmly. Not for me to join you. For you to retire, a clean exit. You can tell the world it was planned. Save your pride, your name, what's left of your reputation. Walk away while you still can. My father's face went red, veins blooming at his temples. This is absurd. My mother froze mid-breath, the candlelight trembling against her glass of wine. My sister's hand jerked, knocking over her glass. Red wine bled across the tablecloth like punctuation. It's real, I continued. It's backed by an investor and reviewed by 2 of your former clients who've agreed to transition under me if you accept. The words hung there, heavy and clean. My mother finally spoke, voice shaking. You're trying to erase us. No, I said. You erased yourselves the moment you taught me that family is only family when it serves you. My father slammed his hand against the table. You're turning your back on your own blood. I'm just done bleeding for it. Silence followed, sharp, alive, almost holy. Then, from the doorway, another voice. She's offering you mercy. We all turned. It was my brother. He'd been standing there, unseen, probably the entire time. He walked forward, calm as if we were discussing weather. She's giving you a way out, he said. You just don't recognize grace when it's not dressed like power. My father pointed at him. You're with her now? I'm with reason, my brother said simply. The table felt like a battlefield where no one wanted to claim victory. My mother's hand trembled around her wine glass. We built this company for you. No, I said. You built it over me. I stood. You have 1 week to consider the offer. After that, I stop being generous. My sister muttered something under her breath, something about ungrateful daughters and ruined families, but her voice was background noise now. The only sound that mattered was the scrape of my chair against their polished floor as I stepped away. My brother followed me to the door. Outside, the wind had shifted, carrying the scent of rain and something cleaner. He walked me to my car in silence, then asked, Do you mean it? Would you really take over the entire company? Yes, I said, but not to win, to protect what's left from collapsing under them. He nodded, thoughtful. Then I hope they say no, because they won't deserve what happens next. I smiled, though it didn't reach my eyes. They never did. I started the engine. The headlights caught the reflection of the house behind me, still perfect, still glowing, still pretending everything was fine. Inside, they were probably already rewriting the story. Ungrateful daughter, storms out, family victimized. Let them. Truth doesn't need witnesses, it just needs time. As I pulled onto the empty street, my phone buzzed with a message from my brother. Whatever happens next, I'm proud of you. I didn't reply. I just drove home, where Lily was asleep on the couch with her pink music box open beside her. The tiny ballerina spun slowly, steady, unstoppable. For the first time, I realized I didn't need closure. I just needed distance. And now, I had both. The week after that dinner felt like standing at the edge of an earthquake, waiting for the cracks to decide where they wanted to spread. Every morning, I woke up before the alarm, expecting some new tremor, a call, a headline, a message from the past trying to claw its way back in. And sure enough, it came. Monday, 8:03 a.m. A missed call from my father. No voicemail, of course. He never leaves evidence. By noon, a text from my mother. Just thinking about you. Maybe we could have coffee this week. Just us. No business talk. The words read like an apology wrapped in bait. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. When people who build their identity on control start sounding gentle, it's not love, it's strategy. That night, my sister posted a picture from their office with the caption, Some people run from real responsibility. Not subtle, but effective enough to tell me what I already knew. They were rattled. Tuesday, 11:45 a.m. A supplier forwarded me an email. My father had contacted them off the record to ask if they'd heard anything about my new operation. He'd written, just trying to protect old relationships from being dragged into chaos. It was such a perfect sentence, condescending, self-victimizing, and cowardly, that I almost laughed. I didn't reply to the supplier. I just forwarded it to my lawyer with the note, add to file, pattern of interference. By Wednesday, desperation had started dressing itself as concern. At 9:15 a.m., my assistant sent a message to my office chat. "Your mother is here, says it's urgent." I looked out through the glass wall and saw her in the lobby. Hair immaculate, posture straight, the same posture she used to scold and soothe in the same breath. I walked out to meet her. 5 minutes, I said. She reached for my hand as if we were two old friends caught in a misunderstanding, not a mother and daughter who had declared war in a dining room. "Sarah," she said softly, "can we talk somewhere private?" "This is fine." Her lips pressed into a thin line, the same one she used to wear right before telling me what my tone meant about my emotional maturity. "We've been thinking," she began. "Maybe we handled Christmas wrong. Maybe we let our pride get in the way. Your father wants to make things right. We're willing to adjust the offer." I folded my arms, then talked to my lawyer. She blinked, caught off guard by how little room I gave her to play her favorite role, the mediator. "Lawyers aren't family, Sarah. Neither are business partners who humiliate your child," I said, "and we're not having this conversation in front of my staff." Her mask cracked for a moment, just a flicker, but it was there. "You've changed," she said, voice trembling slightly. "What happened to you?" I smiled, small and steady. "I started treating myself the way I used to treat all of you." She didn't have a comeback for that. She just stood there for a second, jaw tightening, then left. I watched her walk out through the glass doors, and for a brief moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Thursday morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. My sister was in full meltdown mode. She posted a long, unpunctuated rant on social media about fake women who betray family for fame and money. 5 hashtags. One of them simply said, #pathetic. It might have been funny if it wasn't so familiar. But the surprise came in the comments. Buried under the noise, someone from our parents' business world, one of their old partners, wrote, "Actually, Sarah was always the one we trusted." Just that. No emojis, no defense, no argument. It stayed there for everyone to see. Friday morning, my investor forwarded me an audio file with a note. "You'll want to hear this." It was a voicemail, my father's voice, crisp with fake calm, left directly on her number. "I'm just trying to protect my daughter from herself," he said. "She's not ready to lead anything, let alone a company. She has a history of emotional outbursts, of burning bridges. I wouldn't want you to regret your association with her." He even added, "I'm saying this out of love." When the recording ended, I sat there for a moment, feeling something colder than anger. Then I read the rest of my investor's email. "He sounds scared. That usually means you're doing something right. Pressure makes diamonds. Also, flowers incoming." And she was right. By the time the bouquet arrived, I was done shaking. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Saturday passed quietly. Too quiet. No calls, no posts, no urgent messages. Just an email time-stamped 11:57 p.m., 3 minutes before the 1-week deadline I'd given them. Subject, "We're not ready to sell." After much discussion, we've decided to continue running the business ourselves. Legacy matters, and we believe the company deserves to stay in the family. We're open to a trial partnership with you, if you're willing to earn our trust again. Earn their trust again. As if betrayal had an equal exchange rate. As if humiliation were a mutual hobby. I didn't even bother replying. I just forwarded it to my lawyer with the single line, "They passed." Then I poured myself a glass of wine, opened Lily's new music box, and watched the tiny ballerina spin in the dim light of the living room. She twirled to the same song my daughter hums before bed now. Soft, steady, unbothered by who's watching. That night, I made another decision. If my parents wanted a legacy, they could keep it. I was done fighting for a seat at their table when I could build my own. Sunday morning, I called my brother. He didn't even say hello. "So?" "They declined," I said. "Of course they did." "You sound disappointed." "I'm not," he said quietly. "I'm tired." Then he hesitated. "I want out too, Sarah." The sentence landed like the first crack of spring ice. He went on, "I spent years trying to balance them, trying to keep peace for you, for me, for everyone. It's eaten me alive. I'm done being their translator. I'm done working for people who use family as camouflage." "Are you serious?" I asked. "Send the paperwork," he said. "You've got space for me, right?" "Always." That afternoon, he came by my office. We sat side by side while I drafted his consulting contract. When I handed him the pen, he stared at it for a long second. "Feels like freedom," he said. "It is," I replied. By Wednesday, his resignation hit our parents' inbox. No warning, no fanfare, just a formal goodbye. When he walked into my office that Friday morning with coffee in one hand and Lily's pink lunchbox in the other, because he'd offered to drop it off at her school, I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in months. We weren't just walking away from them, we were walking toward something, and it was already alive. The next week, my brother stood in the office kitchen, leaning against the counter as the morning sun painted the floor gold. "It's strange," he said, "not waking up with that pit in my stomach, not checking my phone for Dad's number." "Freedom feels heavy at first," I said. "You're not used to carrying it." He smiled, almost boyish. "You know what's funny? I don't even want revenge. I just want quiet." Quiet's the luxury they never taught us to afford. We clinked our coffee mugs like a small rebellion. That night, I checked the company inbox before shutting down. A new message had arrived from a contact I hadn't seen in years, one of our parents' core clients. "Sarah, we'd like to discuss transitioning our account. You've always been the one we trusted to deliver. Are you available this week?" I sat back in my chair and let out a slow breath. Trust. That word again. The very currency my parents had bankrupted. It wasn't revenge knocking on my door. It was momentum. And momentum doesn't ask for permission. The email from that client stayed open on my screen for a full minute before I moved. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted to feel the weight of what it meant. It wasn't about money. It was about recognition. Something my family had treated like contraband. When people finally see your worth after years of pretending not to, the silence that follows isn't satisfaction. It's relief. And relief, I've learned, can make you cry without warning. I wiped my eyes before replying. "Thank you for reaching out. I'm available Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'd be honored to discuss how we can continue our work, this time without red tape." I hit send and sat there, staring at the blinking cursor until it looked like it was bowing. Wednesday came gray and cold, the kind of day where everything feels fragile. The meeting was held at a downtown cafe, neutral ground, the client's suggestion. She arrived early, same as me, coat folded neatly over her arm. We didn't start with business. We started with honesty. "I want you to know," she said, stirring her tea, "this isn't about taking sides. It's about respect. Your parents stopped earning that a long time ago." Her words came out gentle, but they cut clean. "They were once good," she continued. "Then they got comfortable. The kind of comfortable that mistakes compliance for loyalty. You, though, you cared. You showed up, even when you shouldn't have had to." I didn't respond right away. Sometimes gratitude is too big for your mouth. She leaned in slightly. "Their contract with us ends this month. We'd like to transition to you, quietly." Quietly. That word again. It's how truth always starts. "I can handle that," I said. She smiled like she'd been holding that smile for years. "I know you can. You already were." By the time I returned to the office, my brother was pacing near the window, phone in hand. He looked up. "You got it?" I nodded. He grinned, but there was no gloating. Just pride and something gentler. Relief that maybe all those years hadn't been wasted. We spent the next 2 days drafting transfer paperwork, carefully, methodically. Our lawyer reviewed every clause twice. We didn't want fireworks. We wanted closure. When the signatures came through on Friday afternoon, the first client under Lumen in line officially replaced one of my parents' cornerstone accounts. The moment wasn't loud, but it was seismic, the kind of quiet that hums through your bones. The shift rippled faster than I expected. Suppliers who'd once ignored my calls now reached out directly. Designers and coordinators started sending inquiries. Even my parents' former project manager joined our team, an email arriving at midnight that simply said, "Ready to work where integrity still means something." My brother printed it out and pinned it to the corkboard. He labeled the section Proof of Concept. At home, Lily hummed again. Not the hesitant hum of a child afraid of being too loud, but the kind that filled a room without apology. Her drawings changed too. Gone were the small, careful hearts tucked into corners. Now they were everywhere, floating, bright, whole. One evening, I caught her placing the broken plastic horse next to her new pink music box on her nightstand. The two looked strange together, one wounded, one perfect. "Why keep that old one?" I asked. She shrugged. "Because it still stands, even if it's not pretty." I kissed the top of her head and turned away before she could see my eyes blur. Children understand survival better than we do. A week later, a bouquet arrived at my office. Lilies, my mother's favorite. No card. Just a folded note that read, "Let's fix this before it's too late." I didn't need to ask who sent it. I could hear her tone in the handwriting. I dropped the flowers straight into the trash. My assistant, startled, asked if I was sure. "I'm allergic," I said. And maybe I was, just not to pollen. That afternoon, my father's lawyer sent a formal letter, a polite threat wrapped in professionalism. Concerns regarding proprietary information and client solicitation. I laughed out loud. I hadn't solicited anyone. They'd come to me. Their arrogance couldn't imagine a world where people chose integrity over intimidation. My lawyer responded within an hour. Ms. Vo has acted transparently and within legal bounds. Any further contact outside counsel will be treated as harassment. The letter shut them down. Completely. The next day, I learned their company had quietly lost 2 more accounts. One of them had already scheduled an introductory meeting with us for the following week. Saturday morning, Lily woke up early. We had a ritual now. Pancakes, cartoons, sunlight through open curtains. She flipped the pages of a coloring book and asked, "Mom, do Nana and Grandpa still hate us?" I froze for a second. Children have a way of asking questions that cut the air clean. I met her eyes. "They don't hate us. They just don't know how to love us right." She nodded, digesting that. "Will they ever learn?" "Maybe," I said softly, "but it's not our job to wait for them to figure it out." She seemed satisfied with that. Then she pointed to a drawing of a ballerina in her book. "She looks like the one in my music box," she said. "She spins even when no one's watching." "Yes," I said. "That's the best kind." By early March, momentum became its own language. We didn't advertise. People just found us. Word spread through meetings and whispers, through ex-employees who still carried loyalty like embers. Each new email felt like a small act of rebellion disguised as opportunity. My brother joked that our parents must be calling each other legacy founders, just to soften the blow, but I knew better. They weren't angry anymore. They were scared. Because once people realize they can't use shame as currency, they go bankrupt fast. That weekend, I sat in my office after everyone left. The city lights glittered through the windows. On my desk sat the broken horse Lily refused to throw away, next to a framed copy of our first signed client agreement. 2 symbols, one of endurance, one of beginning. Maybe survival isn't about erasing the past. Maybe it's about learning how to outgrow it. When I finally shut off the lights, my reflection caught in the glass. I didn't look triumphant, just steady. And steady, I've learned, is rarer than happy. As I locked up, my phone buzzed once, another email. This one from my father's address. "We've seen the news. Congratulations on the new accounts. For what it's worth, I never wanted things to go this far." No signature, no sincerity, just another performance trying to rewrite the third act. I didn't respond. Some silence deserves to stay permanent. Because peace isn't a gift they can give me. It's the one I built myself. By mid-March, their silence felt less like defiance and more like surrender. The messages stopped, the threats stopped, even the gossip slowed. What was once constant noise had turned into static. My brother and I would meet every morning before the rest of the team arrived, coffee in hand, sunlight crawling across the office floor like a slow revelation. He was lighter now. There were color and laugh lines in him again, the kind that only appear when someone finally remembers what it's like to breathe without permission. "Do you ever think they'll apologize?" he asked one morning, half smiling like he already knew the answer. "Maybe," I said. "But if they do, it won't be because they're sorry. It'll be because it benefits them." He nodded, quiet. "I can live with that." We had enough work now to keep 10 people busy. Our phones buzzed constantly. Referrals, inquiries, collaborations. Half the names came from the same network that used to bow to my parents. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. When our latest client walked through the door, a logistics firm my father had courted unsuccessfully for years, I knew the shift was irreversible. The world had noticed the difference between intimidation and integrity. And it had chosen. 2 weeks later, my lawyer called. "Thought you'd want to see this," she said, forwarding a court notice. My parents had filed a small claim for interference with contractual relations. It was flimsy, more symbolic than legal, a last attempt to assert dominance. A letter to the world saying, "We're still in charge." Our response dismantled it in 6 paragraphs and 2 exhibits, emails showing clients initiating contact with us, affidavits from ex-employees attesting to their mistreatment. Within days, the claim was withdrawn, not dismissed, withdrawn. A white flag folded into legalese. My lawyer called it victory. I called it Tuesday. Around that same time, my sister posted again. A photo of her family at brunch, smile tight, captioned, "Real family stands together no matter what." The comments weren't what she expected. Most ignored her, but one stood out, a reply from an old partner of my parents. "She's always been the one we trusted." No argument followed, no defense, just truth, sitting quietly in public, refusing to move. My brother saw it first and sent me the screenshot with a single word: karma. I didn't reply, because it wasn't karma. It was consequence, slow, inevitable, earned. By April, my parents' company began showing visible cracks. Clients trickled away, suppliers stopped prioritizing them. My father's name started disappearing from event rosters he used to headline. They were still standing, but hollow, echoes instead of empire. When the news finally reached me that they were negotiating a partial sale of their firm to an outside buyer, I felt no joy, no vindication, just quiet understanding. The fire they'd lit had finally burned through everything they'd built on pride. That week, I sent them an email, short, formal, a proposal, not to save them, but to protect the people still working under them. If you transition the remaining accounts to us, we'll guarantee all staff retention. No one loses their job. No one gets left behind. Consider it my final courtesy. No response ever came. But 2 months later, through industry whispers, I heard that the buyer had offered almost exactly what I had. They'd accepted. I couldn't even be angry. In a way, they had chosen my offer after all, just under someone else's name. Life after that didn't become perfect. It became real. Our office grew noisy in the best ways, laughter echoing off the walls, phones ringing with purpose, the smell of coffee strong enough to feel like a promise. We hired 3 more people. My brother took charge of operations, thriving in the structure he used to drown under. Every Friday, he'd look around and say, "I can't believe peace sounds like this." And every Friday, I'd answer, "You earned it." At home, Lily built her own rituals of healing. She planted seeds on the windowsill, tiny shoots that leaned toward the light, stubborn and brave. She stopped asking about my parents. Her laughter returned, fuller now, unguarded. When she smiled, she looked nothing like the girl clutching that broken plastic horse on Christmas morning. One rainy evening, as thunder rolled outside, she asked, "Do you think Nana and Grandpa will ever say sorry?" I paused, drying the dishes. "Maybe," I said, "but it doesn't change what we have now." She thought about it, then nodded. "We're okay," she said simply. And she was right. That spring, my brother surprised me with something. He'd taken the broken toy horse and had it restored, still small, still imperfect, but whole again. The cracks were sealed in fine gold resin, bright against the dull plastic. "Japanese call it kintsugi," he said. "Fixing broken things with gold, so you remember where the light got in." I placed it on my desk next to a framed photo of Lily and me outside our office on opening day. 2 survivors, smiling in sunlight that didn't need permission to exist. When May came, I drove past my parents' building for the first time in months. Their logo had been replaced with the new buyer's name. The letters were sleeker, the glass facade polished. But beneath the shine, I could still see the ghosts. Every late night, every argument, every apology I'd swallowed. I didn't stop. I didn't need to. Because that building wasn't my history anymore. It was my origin story. And origins are meant to be left behind once you learn how to walk on your own. At our next company meeting, my brother announced that our team had hit a milestone. Our 20th client, triple our projected revenue, 0 debt. The room erupted in applause. Someone popped a bottle of champagne, and Priya taped a hand-drawn sign to the wall. "Freedom looks good on us." She wasn't wrong. That night, after everyone left, I sat by the window in my office, city lights reflecting like quiet constellations. I thought about how far we'd come, the broken toys, the betrayal, the laughter we had to rebuild from scratch. For the first time in years, my heart didn't race when I thought about the past. It just rested. I looked down at the little gold-lined horse and realized it was more than a reminder. It was a map. Every scar, every fracture, every moment I thought would destroy me, all of it had pointed me here. Lily's laughter floated down the hallway from the reception area. She was helping my brother organize files, humming her ballerina's song. Our song now. I turned off the lights and whispered to the dark. This is what family feels like. Not the one that demanded loyalty, the one that offered peace. And peace, I decided, was the only inheritance worth keeping.